Welcome to the Classroom Café, where it's all about brewing the conversation between fellow educators. This special presentation is brought to you by the United Federation of Teachers and the union's Member Assistance Program. Thank you for joining us today. We hope this podcast inspires you, nourishes you, and motivates you. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Classroom Café podcast. I'm your host, Selma Williams, Mental Health Manager here with the UFT's Member Assistance Program. And as usual, I'm joined with our illustrious co-host, Janice Acosta.
Hi, everyone. I am Janice Acosta, Clinical Coordinator at the UFT Member Assistance Program.
Today, we are joined by Donna Resmini. Donna, welcome. Why don't you take a moment to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. It's Donna Resmini. I'm currently a Pilates instructor, certified in New York and Connecticut. And over the last year, I have started doing podcasts on coaching for relationships and finance, and as well as resilience and strength and perseverance. So I'm happy and delighted to be part of your team and start this new journey for 2023 with you.
We're super excited to have you, Donna. Thank you so much for joining us. So you said that you have a podcast that talks about relationships and finance, and the title of this month's podcast is New Year, New You, right? We're in the middle of the holidays. We're getting into the new calendar year, which is a time of rebirth, a time of making changes, making adjustments, out with the old, in with the new. So what does that mean to you, New Year, New You?
Well, in my life, I came from a background of spending 35 years in corporate America and finance, and it always was a time to look at where I was in the current year and the last quarter of the current year, and to assess what I wanted to do in the new year. And as usual, we always had planning sessions. So I will do that for myself personally, like, what did I want to do this past year? What did I hit? What were my benchmarks that I was successful in? What did I table and I need to go back and revisit? So for me, it's never about overwhelming my plate with things that are already, taking up my time, efforts, and energy, whether it be personal, whether it be business, whether it be family, but just take a look at where I'm going in the next quarter, not the next year, but in the next quarter. So I am successful at reaching short-term goals and then pushing forward to longer-term goals.
I love what you said right there, Donna, of like breaking it down into quarters, right? I know for me personally, thinking of the new year, and it feels like, well, it's a wonderful thing to do, to reflect and to look forward to making changes and living in a different way, or seeking happiness, right? It's also, it can be daunting to think of like, oh my God, a whole calendar year, a whole nother year that I'm going to have to like make this goal and maintain it and keep up with it. So I love what you just said about quarters, breaking it down into quarters, because it makes it seem so much more attainable and doable.
Correct. And I think you can even further break it down to monthly. I usually have a planner, and then I have also a journal, and I write down 12 things that I want to achieve in every month. And I just do it like sipping my tea on a given day. I don't schedule it. I just say, okay, what am I thinking about? So I don't love New Year's resolutions. I prefer New Year's affirmations. So I like to hit it with, this is who I am today. I don't want to look at who I was last year, whether it was a success or a failure or a journey that I need to grow from. It's more about, what can I do to move myself forward? Baby steps, a little larger steps, and then I can run.
Yeah. You really break it down, which is great. I don't like New Year's resolutions either. I always like people are always like, yeah, what's your New Year's resolution? I'm like, I'm not setting myself up to fail, so I'm not setting any. But
Correct.
breaking it down, like you just said, right, can really make it more, again, like a more digestible, more attainable.
Correct.
So, the majority of our listeners are educators who often struggle to find time as it is. So, what do you suggest are some good ways or some tips that they can start this new year out setting these goals or these intentions or these affirmations for the next quarter, the next month, the next week, even?
Well, as you know, I work with a lot of women in my field in Pilates. And so I see about 2,400 women a week in 6
Mm,
locations. I watch their faces on any given day coming off either a vacation weekend, a holiday, etc. I always look to 2 things. Number one, to be in the moment and to breathe. And I always tell them at night when you go to bed and you're lying in bed, don't think of all you didn't do or all you have to do. Be in the moment and allow yourself to feel and
mm,
breathe and breathe. Just take those deep inhale cleansing breaths and blow the air out and let your diaphragm expand and pull the air in and out. Because everybody says, I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, if we can
Mhm.
allow ourselves 1, 2, 3 minutes of breathing, you often find you get into that relaxation mode and you're able to fall asleep. I always have the little doll on my shoulder that says, what did you do today? Can you do this tomorrow? Oh
Mhm.
no, are you all set for, even our podcast today? Are you all
mhm.
set to do that? And I don't want to put myself into a place of being stressful. I want to be in control. And I'm not always in control. I'm not perfect. That's my new mantra. I am not perfect. I am present.
Mm.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Thank
definitely.
you.
I'm going to write that down.
Not perfect, I am
I'm
present.
present.
And it's taken me a long time to get there, to get to that place. Your listeners are educators. I am a I am a lifelong learner on a lot of different subjects. I try to open my head and my mind to different things that are part of who I am today. I listen to podcasts like driving into work. It's my moment of magic.
Mhm.
It will help me in my given day. It might help me reflect at a red light. Oh my God, what they're saying is so true. Everybody is pushing to the limits their capacity, having just come off the last 2 years. We have a new beginning. We have a new opportunity to start something fresh for ourselves first, then our children, then our families. And obviously, everything we touch happens to bring us where we need to be as well.
So, what I'm hearing you say is learning the art of prioritizing a little bit, right? Like what is most important and offloading the things that can be pushed off till tomorrow or the next day. But for those of us, and I say us, who sometimes can have a little bit of a procrastination piece
Mhm.
to us, how do we know? How do we combat that? How do we balance that?
Well, I think it's really easy to procrastinate. We all do it. And I think it's really important to understand, why are we procrastinating? We're tired. We're exhausted. We don't have another ounce of energy for anybody else, never mind ourselves. And it all starts from within. If we can't give ourselves magic moments, it doesn't have to be a lot of moments. It could just be a hot shower where we're singing your song, where we're singing. But, I don't sing well in the shower, but I think a lot in the shower. That's my half-hour magic moment for me.
Mhm.
And if you don't see an opportunity to have a magic moment, you have to find an opportunity to have it. Working out. Everybody is so stressed on their given day. They don't have time to work out. Make time. Make 5 minutes in the morning. Like lie in bed and just give yourself a 5-minute mental exercise. You can stretch, you can arch and curl, you can lift your arms up to the ceiling, open up your chest. I was a banker for 35 years. I had 3 children that I raised, and a former spouse who was an attorney. There wasn't a lot of magic moments for me. But looking back, I wish I had a lot more magic moments instead of learning them at this ripe old age where I am today. But it's never too late. And I really, really, really stress the importance of give something to yourself, because if you don't give it to yourself, you can't give it to anybody else.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, educators are natural caregivers, whether that's to their own families, whether that's to the children that are in their classrooms. And it's so often, Selma and I, as clinicians at MAP, we hear it often of members who are just burnt out and they don't have anything left to give. And
Mhm.
a lot of times the work that we do is bringing it back to having them, like giving them permission to focus on themselves and
Mhm.
understanding how empowering it can be and will be to give themselves what it is that they need so that way they can give others in their life the things that they need.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we all talk about being grateful. Every day, at the end of the day, I say, what am I most grateful for today? I
Mhm.
got through a bad day.
Mhm.
I was able to make a difference. I was able to help someone else. And that's very rewarding for me. Maybe my own personal day might have not been so successful, but I worked with somebody else to give them the best version of themselves.
Mhm.
And that's my passion. So that makes me very strong to move forward to the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to the short-term goals, right?
Mhm.
Just a little practical piece. How do you schedule that out? How do you plan for the next quarter?
So for me, my quiet time is early in the morning. I'm an early riser, so I sit down always with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I just look at my calendar and I start thinking about what I did in the past week or what I'm doing in the future week. And I have a journal. I have a book. It says "Dream Big," and that's what I do. I try to dream big. It doesn't matter if I get there, as long as I have it written down that I'm going to try to get to that dreaming big category. And I believe little things like, what is it? What's the saying? A rolling stone gathers a lot of moss, or I'm sure
Mhm.
I'm sabotaging that, but I think the moral of the story is, my other mantra is it's not how far the ball bounces, it's how high it bounces back up. So I might drop on a given day, but tomorrow is a new opportunity for me to bounce back up. So scheduling for me is important. All of your learners, your listeners, your educators, they have planners. Even if they put a little note at the top of the page in their own planner, um, breathe. What did I do for me today? What do I want to achieve for me tomorrow? Even if today wasn't so good, little fractions of movement forward, small steps. I
Mhm.
think that would be the best approach, because I've been doing this for over 35 years.
Mhm.
So it's like second nature to me. It's like putting on my makeup in the morning. It's like brushing my teeth. I stop every day and think about, what do I need to do today for me, my family, the people I am a caregiver for, or my work. And I think the minute I hit my keys to the car and I put on a podcast and listen, that helps me to cleanse my own mind, to affirm in my own head what I'm doing is right for the moment, for today. And that's
Mhm.
what I think that's really important. We all plan 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. Just plan for today. And just plan for today, one step at a time.
Yeah.
I like that. I think sometimes we get, especially educators, right, who are wrapped up in a lot of times planning for their students
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and lesson planning and doing all the things with whatever groups or committees that they're on in the building. We can forget to focus on and actually plan for ourselves to,
Mm-hmm.
meet whatever intentions that we set for the day. I'm big on mantras, and putting something before your face. I like what you said there, that I'm not perfect. I'm present, and that's something that I'm adapting from this podcast, that's something that I'm going to kind of, roll into my list of mantras that I have. So what are your favorites?
For me, my mantras.
Yeah.
Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but the moments that take your breath away.
That's a nice one too.
That's one of my favorites. Another one is you can walk through life or have life walk through you. And I think that is very applicable to our discussion today.
Yeah.
We all are walking through life one day at a time. There's that one day at a time. Recently a mother told me, I can't continue my membership. And I asked her why. And she said, I have a special needs child. I said, okay. And why aren't you able to come to your classes? Well, my mother and my husband are giving me guilt for being here for the 50 minutes. And I looked at her and I just set her aside and I said, last month you were the member of the month. Tomorrow you're ready to give up a membership. Think of the last 30 days, how much ability you were for yourself to be stronger, to face the day, to be a stronger mom, to be a stronger daughter and a stronger wife. Don't let anybody take away your 50 minutes. I believe you can do that once a week. Don't take it all away. And I think that's the piece, guilt. We all go through that guilt.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially when you're in a caretaking role, as much educators are, and if you're a parent, that's often something that plays in the back of your mind. Am I on my own priority list? Am I allowed to be on my own priority list? I have so many other people and roles that I'm supporting. You forget sometimes that you need to, prioritize yourself. I like what you did for that mom there. And
I think one other affirmation I have really, maybe when we talked earlier last month, I might have said this. Everybody oversteps their boundaries. So when we're having difficult days, someone will overstep and tell you how to correct it. And it's your moment, good, bad, or indifferent. And I have really started to say this mantra a lot. Unless you've walked in my shoes, you don't tie my shoelaces, and I don't wear Velcro.
Oh,
I like it. It's a little sassy.
Yes. So it's me taking my life into my hands to get my power. My power comes from me. It doesn't come from our conversations today. And while I would love this podcast to be listened to and people take one thing away, one thing is you gotta have some power for yourself. One little nibble, one little raisin, one little grain of rice power, and make it be a lot bigger tomorrow. You don't have to make it blow up today, just one step. And I don't know if this is the right format to even say it. I have had two friends over the last 35 years that were very close to me that I stepped away from their friendships over the last year. And I did it in a way that made sense to me. And I can't tell you how nice it feels not to have their boundaries overstepped with me every time I talk to them. And I'm stronger every day as a result of doing that for me. It was that easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Boundaries are important. They're also really hard to do because in order to set a boundary with someone, you have to put yourself first. You have to put your own needs and your own values and your own worth first. And we all have our own worth. But if we're not taking those steps and empowering ourselves, it's hard for us to really feel it.
Correct.
Right. So it's a multi-layered thing to be, we get to the point where we are setting boundaries with other people, but it's an important thing to do. And again, it's a really hard thing to do, but valuable.
But you have to have accountability to yourself.
Yeah.
I have to be authentic. If I teach 2,400 people a week, if I teach many, many women, I have to be authentic every single day. So I am like your academic listeners out there. I have to make a moment for people to understand what I am looking for in our interaction, how accountable I can be to them, and perhaps vice versa. And if the boundaries overlap, once in a while, it's okay. But if they're constantly overlapping, then a step back and I call it come to Jesus meeting with myself. Is
Mhm.
this really where I want to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back really quickly to what you shared about the mother who was looking to cancel her membership. And, a lot of times it's easy to go from one extreme to the other, right? She went from being member of the month to like be getting ready to cancel her membership in order to not feel the guilt that she was feeling. Right.
Correct.
And I want to just hold space and acknowledge, what you said about, right? Maybe it's not that you're coming every day, but maybe it's at least once a week. Give yourself 50 minutes a week to
Hmm.
be here, to do something for you, because that's so important. And I just want to highlight that because it's so, again, it's so easy to think in the black and white of like all or nothing. And
Correct.
we're trained to think in that way, but there's so much gray and there's so much benefit and beauty that lies in the gray, and it's important to make sure that we are still giving ourselves something that we need and something that is good for us, even if it's not something that we do every day.
Correct. And you have to find the time for yourself.
Mhm.
And it's easy to, as you said, go from zero, all or nothing.
Uh-huh.
But we've all been at nothing.
Yeah.
So if we got forward and she became the member of the month, she benefited so much from being the member of the month last month. How can you take that momentum away from yourself?
Mhm.
Think of how much more everybody got and how good you felt about yourself. And also, she's interacting with a lot of women in our community who are also experiencing those things. So little bonds of friendship. I pull people in and say, oh, so-and-so's a teacher. So-and-so knows the person that you're best friends with. It's just to pull them in to have camaraderie, have strength, have support.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
is so important, as humans, we are social beings.
Mhm.
And finding those positive connections also boosts our own morale, also gives us strength, and helps us to, find a little bit more push to do what we need to do for the day.
Mhm.
Because we're met with you by the humanity of others. And we understand
Correct.
that we're not alone in this thing called life, that everybody's struggling, everybody has their thing, everybody's trying to meet their goals, everybody's trying to attain whatever it is they're trying to attain. So I think it is really commendable what you're doing in your community for women, and it's necessary. And I think I'd like to think that we're modeling that here as clinicians here, for the members that we support as well. It's so important.
And I
Mhm.
also think that, when a group of ladies get together, we all can start, talking about what it is today that's bothering us or impacting us. Maybe there's a chance to change it on what we could do today, singly or as a group, to
Mhm.
improve it so we're not affected that way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So new year, new you.
Correct.
Mhm.
I think it's just a great opportunity for us to share, right? What are some things that we're looking forward to for the new year? For me, I'll start. I am looking forward to prioritizing my own health, whether that's physical, mental, spiritual, every side of my self as a helping professional. I have made it a goal for the next quarter to prioritize that and set that boundary so that no one, is able to cross it. Because I've allowed people to cross it many times. I've prioritized people and things over this for a long time. And yeah, that is my goal for the first quarter of 2023.
Sounds like a good one.
You touched on a couple different things, Donna, that I just want to highlight before I share mine. Right, you said have a magic moment every day, even if that's something that you do in the shower, while you're having your coffee, as soon as you get in your car, when you're engaging in your commute and you pop in a podcast, right? Make sure you have a magic moment every day. And ask yourself, what do I need to do for me today?
Correct.
And make sure that you're holding yourself accountable and you're giving yourself at least one thing that you need to do today.
Correct.
We talked or we mentioned a couple times your slogan, which I'm loving too, and I think I'm going to adapt it also. I'm not perfect, but I am present. And then you also talked about, right, like holding gratitude every day, practicing that every day, as well as, what Selma just talked about, boundaries, and even forgiveness too. So I think taking all those things into consideration, I think the magic moment every day is what I'm gonna take with me from this. For
I
the
love
first
that.
quarter, creating a magic moment every day.
Yeah.
And even if it's like, maybe I do need to like set an alarm on my phone, or I like your suggestion of writing a little note on the top of your notebook, like breathe.
You're
Right, something like that, something that will be easy and doesn't take a lot of mental space or effort or capacity.
And I agree. I totally agree. I am a very spiritual person. I was educated in an all-girls school for 12 years, and then I went to a Catholic college. So I always did what was expected of me. I always tried to be the perfect child, the perfect student, the perfect employee, the imperfect employer, the wife, the mother, the daughter. And all of a sudden I woke up in the last 2 years and that I'm not perfect. I'm the best version of who I am today. I'm a work in process, and I don't need to have perfection, but I'm present.
Yeah.
And that's all. I won't let anybody take that away from me. I'm here. What do you need? How can I make it better for you? And also, what can we do for each other? And that's really important. I'm a giver. I don't know how to take. I'm a giver, giver, giver. And you probably have a million listeners out there that are probably in that same kind of position. It's okay once in a while to take. I don't know how to take, but I'm trying to work on, instead of saying, if someone says, oh, I love that new dress. Oh, it's old. I got it on sale. Or it's old. It's old. I found it in my closet. Just to say thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, that is an
Right?
appropriate response.
Right. Right. Oh, this thing. Oh, no, I need a haircut. Your hair looks great today. Oh, no, this is a week dirty. Just to be in the moment of accepting someone giving you a little compliment. I can't even take those without making the other compliments. Now I've learned to say, thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just speaking back on compliments, right? I am very similar in that, like, whenever someone gives me a compliment, I'm like, oh, it was nothing, or it's natural for us to minimize whatever the compliment is. And I've gotten into the practice of just listening, right? Pausing and just listening. And also just like being really honest of like, I feel really uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to say thank you and I appreciate the compliment.
Correct.
That may be.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Donna, you mentioned, your mom being member of the month. And so for those who don't know, where are your classes? Where can they reach out to you and find you? How can
Great.
they join the class?
Great. So I currently work in New York at Club Pilates and in Connecticut as well. So in New York, it's in the Westchester area of Scarsdale and Ardsley and Quaker Ridge, which is New Rochelle. I am also available. I do Zoom sessions. So if there's ever an opportunity that someone wants to reach out to me and work one-on-one with me via Zoom, I can make time with them to teach them how to feel the best version of themselves today. New you, new year, new beginnings, you know. It isn't about a new page. It's for the page that's always needs to be revisited. We can't always do new. We give it an opportunity to start fresh. But what we have not succeeded at doesn't define us. So while I love new year, new you, new beginnings, it's also an opportunity, like a fine bottle of wine, to age to perfection.
I love that.
You know, we're always like, we're those compliments or those, you know, inabilities to accept and take a compliment. We just need to take one day at a time. And I'm looking forward to changing my life next year. You know, I keep saying, this is what I want to do next year. This is what I want to do this year. I'm still finishing off my plan for 2022, and that's having my own website with my own virtual program for Pilates functional movement. Dating over 50, we haven't talked about that. And my podcasts and relationships and nutrition and inflammation, because they all go hand in hand. It's a snapshot of where I am today and how I soften what needs to be softened or strengthen what needs to be strengthened.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Donna. And what's the title of your podcast so that way our listeners can find your podcast?
So you can find me on Donna Resmini Dream, and my website is donnaresmini.com, and my podcasts are Dream Podcast, which stands for Donna Resmini Educate and Motivate. It's an acronym. And I just look forward to, right now there's 13 podcasts up. The beginning podcasts were strategic about me healing from a relationship that was deafening at the end of last year and stepping away from it. And then moving into relationships with my children, my parents who have passed, and moving into just nutrition and inflammation and just moving forward in a healthy way.
Beautiful.
Great.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Donna.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to 2023 with you ladies and others.
Likewise.
Wishing all the health and light to you in this upcoming new year.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Nice speaking with you today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Once again, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Classroom Café. If you are a UFT member, the Members Assistance Program can be reached at 212-701-9620 or at mapinfo@uft.org.